Right. Hello and welcome to the Zonal Weakness brought to you by Gono Football Fantasy, powered by Fantasy Football Scout. And it's Bethany who's back. I don't know, after ages, I would rather call it. And it's not her fault, to be honest. It's, I think, my mismanagement on my part. I think for somehow we were not able to sync our timing. And then the week I was available, you were not. And then the week you were available, I wasn't. And it just went. So, yeah. I think the audience who have been regular viewers of our Zonal show would be quite happy to see you back again, Bethany. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, it feels like it's been such a long time for various reasons. We've also had international breaks and stuff as well. But yeah, it feels like ages. And you know what? If I'd been on at any point in the last few weeks, I'd have been really pleased to share how I was doing in FPL. I'd had 7 green arrows in a row. I'd made it up to just outside the top 1 million. And then last week I had a complete disaster, ended up taking a -12, which started off as a -8 because of trying to chase some price changes and stuff that seem to be happening at a ridiculous rate this season. And then Gabriel I brought in, he was rumoured to be out, so I then swapped him to Timber and took a -4, and then he was fine and ended up outscoring Timber, etc. So yeah, I then had a huge red and dropped back down to 2.6 million. So I feel like all that progress I'd done over the last few weeks, and then this week I come on and after a massive red. So yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm hoping it's just a minor blip and the rest of the season will continue to go smoothly like it started. But not the best week to talk to me about my team. How about you? How are you doing?
Well, I would say I wasn't as lucky as you were to have 7 green arrows in a row, but I did have 3 green arrows in a row, and I was doing pretty well, and all my substitutions and transfers were kind of working out, And as I said this year, I'm a little bit less engaged when it comes to fantasy football. But still, I was pretty happy with the moves I was making, and I kind of brought in the right players at the right time, kicked out the right players at the right time, like Salah and others. But this week, my team needed a little bit of change because with all the wild card and everything. So I thought, it's important that I take the -8, and I took a -8, and I had Haaland at captain. So yeah, -8 didn't really work out so much, to be honest, and Haaland captaincy, of course, failed. So all the progress that I made, again, it's a bit of 2-step front and 1 step backward, which is okay. Yeah. So I'm somewhere around 3.5 million, I think, somewhere. So, but it's a long season, so hoping I'll be able to make it up and climb the rank again. But yeah, it's good, and we haven't been doing the zonal for, I think, very regularly since the international break. So now we are getting back into the regularity here. So let's get started, Bethany. And audience, sorry if my voice sounds different and if you're finding it difficult to understand what I'm saying, it's probably because I have a broken voice for some reason. I was traveling, and then I ended up waking up and then only to find my voice broken completely. So sorry for the distorted sound if you're getting any, and having any sort of difficulty in understanding what I'm saying. So apologies for that, but I don't think so we'll have problems every week, but sometimes we just need to get over it with it, right? Anyway, this is the Zonal Weakness for Game Week 10. And of course, if you haven't followed or liked or subscribed to our channels, please do so now, because we are producing regular contents, at least till now we have been doing so. I think there's only been just a couple of weeks which we have missed, but beside that, it's going good. And all the stats that you see are taken from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Gono Football Fantasy is the only page in Bangladesh to be part of the Scout network, so we are quite happy with that. And of course, if you do click in the link in the description below, you'll get a 5% discount. So if you're interested, I think this would be a very useful system. So please do take it, and let us know. And here it is. These are the transfers that we had suggested back in game week 6, and they have performed since 6 to 9, which is the last 4 game weeks. So Bethany, if you can take us through as to what you think about them and give us your review about it.
Yeah, well, I think anybody that went Reinders or Simmons has probably been pretty disappointed over that time. Reinders not even managing to make 2 points per match as a minimum. And Simmons only just making 2 points per match. So I think those have both been disappointing for owners. I'm very pleased they've managed to avoid both of them. But I think those who went and die can be fairly pleased with that result there as an average of 3.7 per match for mid-priced assets. I think he's done all right. I think he's somebody you could keep, and he'll tick over and get you a return every couple of weeks. But yeah, I think if you're a Ryan Diaz owner or a Simmons owner, it's definitely time to sell.
Right. Yeah. I had Ryan Diaz since game week 1, and I decided to kick. So one of my -8 was actually Ryan Diaz being kicked out. I think I had given him enough chance to try and, Burnley, Brentford, Everton and Aston Villa. I really didn't think he would deliver anything, but he might. But I was really hoping for game week 6 and 7 where he would deliver, but he didn't.
I think Man City wise, you've just got to go Haaland only. I think everything is going through him, and yes, they might score lots of goals, but he's going to be the one heavily involved. So I think I don't think you need to try and get a second option or a second attacking option in Man City at the moment. Just stick with Haaland.
Yeah, I think that's been one of my best calls so far, to get Haaland in straight away in game week 2. And since then, I've been captaining him, and I think he's just missed in 2 game weeks. So I think game week 2 he missed, and this is the last game week that he missed. He failed to score, which is okay. But anyway, let's look at the zonal for game week 10. And this is the first slide. We have the 8 teams here, and then we'll bring the next 8 teams after this, followed by the goals conceded, as well as some of the transfer suggestions and the, team of the week. So over to you, Bethany.
Okay, we start off with Arsenal, and every position is looking great this week for Arsenal against Burnley. So you've got to try and narrow it down, because obviously you can only have 3. My preferred 3 would be Gabriel, who I don't own now. I think he's a great option. He's getting some more DEFCON this year than he has been, and he's also an attacking option. I think Timber is great as well. His expected goal involvement is something like 0.37, which is great for a defender who also keeps clean sheets. And then it's between Saka and Rice for me. I think Gyökeres is a no-go. Sell him, move to a midfielder. Saka is obviously the expensive but consistent option, but I actually really like Rice. So yeah, I quite like Rice for your third option. Then we move on to Crystal Palace, and again, their fixtures are starting to change now, so people are moving to 2 or 3 Palace players. The one standing out this week is Mateta. Obviously, the zonal suggests the chances conceded down the centre. They're ranked 3rd against Brentford. And obviously, a lot of us are wanting to get rid of some forwards anyway. Your likes of Gyökeres, João Pedro aren't really performing. So I think Mateta is the perfect person to jump on there. Just be warned, he hasn't been particularly consistent yet, but he's getting the chances, getting the big chances. He's just not been putting them away. So hopefully with these easier fixtures coming up, he'll play himself into form. Next up, we have Newcastle, and I'm one of the people that have been on Newcastle for a while, and I've been really enjoying their points. They've been quite differential points for me, whereas I think other people are going to join them soon. I think, interestingly, Voltemada doesn't look great as an option for chances continued down the centre. He's 9th, which is fine, but he would usually be my go-to option. Gordon is an interesting one, because on the zonal, he's looking really good. And he's done really well in midweek fixtures in Europe, in Champions League. He's looking really good, but he hasn't been able to put it into play into the Premier League yet. So he's a punt to go to, because we can't completely trust him yet. But we've seen him do it in the past, so he's a fine option if you want to go there instead. Next up, we have Liverpool, and Liverpool for me really are in a void at the moment. They just don't look on it at all. I think the only player I would possibly consider, especially because he's not too expensive, but he's the one that's doing most of the points getting for us in FPL, is Gakpo. I think he'd be my one and only Liverpool shout at the moment. I think Isaac is a sell, Ekitike is a sell, Salah is a sell, Van Dijk is a sell. Gakpo is my only shout there, and he looks good for the zonal this week. So if you've got him, great. If you do really want a Liverpool asset, he'd be the one I'd be going for. Ranked 2nd for chances conceded down the right flank. and third for crosses conceded down the right flank. Man City not looking great this week, actually. Bournemouth have been a really good defence all season. So, that makes the captaincy an interesting option. Maybe it's a week to go against Haaland as captain. Go for someone else, maybe an Arsenal player when you look at those numbers. But we know Haaland can deliver, and 9th isn't terrible. But I wouldn't be bringing anybody else in, especially like a Ryan Giggs. I think it's time to sell somebody like him. Then we've got Everton, and I do like Everton this season. I think Grealish has been a great addition to the team. He's still in my team, and I'm looking forward to playing him in this fixture. Ranked 5th for chances conceded down the right flank. I also like 𝐙𝐨𝐬𝐷, which is ranked 2nd for crosses conceded down the left flank. So I think both of those could be really good options, and they're going to play if they're fit and get good minutes. Definitely keep them and play them if you've got them. But they're reasonable priced if you did want somebody cheapish in midfield. Then we've got Man United, and I can actually talk positively again about Man United, which is nice. I have a kind of love-hate relationship with them, with FPL, because sometimes they don't live up to your hopes for them. But I think they've finally got into the swing of all their new signings and things, and they're looking really good. For me, the standout option is Mbeumo. He's definitely got points the last 3 weeks in a row in FPL, so I think he would be a great option, and he's not too expensive. But if you've got Bruno and you haven't sold him yet, definitely keep hold of him. I think both of them could be really good options. And then finally, we have Forest. And Forest, for me, are a team to avoid at the moment. They've just got new manager. But that, for me, suggests with Sean Dyche that they're going to end up being more defensive and not necessarily going to do a lot for our teams in attack. So they're ones to watch, I think. Definitely not ones to invest in at the moment.
Right. Interesting. Glad to hear a bit of some good words. So I'm quite happy about the fact that, somebody's just spoken about some positive words coming out of someone regarding a particular team. So it just makes me smile a little bit. But anyway, and good. There is a particular player who's from that particular team anyway, and he's been on a good form. So good to see that also reflected in Zonal as well. But thanks, Bethany. I think you've been rightly critical. It's not just, unnecessarily being critical, but I think you have rightly done so. So it's fair. Let's move on to the next slide then. Here it is. Over to you. Not much green, but...
not many standing out here. A lot of us are invested in Bournemouth, and it doesn't look a great week for them against City. So definitely I wouldn't be buying any of their players this week, especially someone like Krupi. I know a lot of people have gone to him because he has been looking really good with Evan Nielsen out, but we don't really know how long Evan Nielsen's out yet. So I think wait for more news there. It's not worth investing this week with obviously Krupi. Their chances conceded down the centre is 20th. It's the worst it possibly can be. So they're in a void for me this week. Semenyo could get a return anyway, and he's ranked 10th, so it's fine to play him if you already own him, but I wouldn't be buying any Bournemouth players this week. Villa, they've got the only team with 2 greens at the moment, which is surprising because they're playing Liverpool, but actually Liverpool have been pretty poor defensively. However, Aston Villa haven't really clicked this season yet either. I think they might score. I couldn't really call who it is, or whether if you got that person in like a Sancho or Digne or Watkins this week, would they be any good for next week or the week after? I just don't really have any confidence in Villa at the moment, or know where the goals are coming from consistently. So for me, they're still an avoid despite the zonal, sadly. Then we've got Brentford, and again, I know a lot of people are looking at players like Thiago because he's been really consistent. Sadly, chances conceded down the centre. Crystal Palace have been good defensively, so that's ranked 14th for Thiago this week. So again, an avoid, someone to look at in later weeks, but not this week. And Very similarly for Welbeck, I know a lot of people are looking at bringing him in because he's a cheap forward and we need a forward spot at the moment. Downgrading players that aren't doing anything. But again, I don't feel like it's the week, which might surprise people. I think people might look at Leeds on paper and go, "Oh, that should be a nice team against a nice week against a promoted team." But the promoted teams have been really surprising this season, and again, yeah, probably an avoid for me this week. Which team have we got here? This is Leeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like who we're playing is Leeds. Yeah. Leeds are like they've been doing really well. I'm just not sure who I'd go for. You've got Calvert-Lewin there, ranked first for chances conceded. I know a few people went quite recently. If they've wildcarded recently, they went for him, and he's disappointed and continued doing Calvert-Lewin things of missing big chances and not returning. So again, despite the zonal, I'm afraid I wouldn't be going there. I don't think there's anyone particularly consistent. I mean, for Leeds right now, it may be like a Longstaff or somebody, but just not the week to go for it from the zonal perspective. Chelsea, very interesting. Nobody standing out here for Chelsea this week. I think João Pedro is a sell this week. I think there's much better forwards on options. Ranked 14th for chances conceded down the centre. He's had barely any shots in the last 4 or 5 games, no points. Definitely a sell for now. I know people are looking at players like Enzo, like Neto, etc. But I don't think this is the week from the zonal perspective to bring them in. Then we've got Spurs, and there's Van de Ven, who I had sitting third on my bench last week there. In bright green again, and he's being benched in my team this week again, so probably going to pop up with another goal, especially now I've seen this headed chances conceded ranked 5th. I think Van de Ven is probably the only Spurs player I would keep. Richarlison's not getting minutes. Simmons has been awful. I think there's better players even than Kudos, etc. The zonal doesn't suggest anything, but Van de Ven is cheap enough that you can just bench him, and he can pop up with a goal every now and again, etc. So yeah, I think Van de Ven you can keep. I'm not necessarily sure I'd play him against Chelsea, but he's fine to keep. Everyone else I would sell from Spurs. And then finally we have Sunderland, and sadly the zonal doesn't look great for them this week, but they have been playing really well. Obviously they're like 3rd or 2nd or 3rd. They're right at the top of the table anyway. They're doing really well. And I really like them. They've got loads of cheap options. So while they don't have a great fixture this week, I think if you wanted to say downgrade someone, like if you had a Cucurella or somebody you wanted to downgrade, or Van Dijk you wanted to downgrade and be able to use the money elsewhere, I think going to a Sunderland asset for the future that you can bench this week is a really good use of that money, because they've been really consistent, especially some of the defenders. Defenders have been really good at getting some of the attacking returns as well as clean sheets. So yeah, going for a Sunderland defender to bench this week, but to sit on your bench for the long term to be able to use when they have nice fixtures and let you upgrade elsewhere, I think could be a nice option.
Right. Yeah. Nothing much to add from my side, to be honest. But yeah, I think we briefly lost you a little bit for the Crystal Palace.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. No worries. I think this is just technical issues, but we. Right. I think now people lost me for a second. So yeah, here is the team of the week for zonal weakness. Anything that stands out?
It's interesting, obviously, seeing quite a few double ups or triple ups in there. You've got the 2 Newcastle players. I think that's really nice, having a double up on Newcastle, and those would be the exact 2 players I suggest, Burn and Voltemada. Similarly, having Gabriel, Saka and Trossard in there. I'm not so sure about Trossard. He is really good. It's just that kind of, he's not always going to get those minutes or get those starts. You're never quite sure of them, but I really like Gabriel and Saka. I do really like Bruno and Umbramo. Umbramo is actually the player that I think I'm going to be most disappointed not having owned this week. If I could get to him as well, if I had another free transfer, I think I'd be making the move for Umbramo this week as well. So I really like both of them. And then, yeah, Mateta, I think, seems the obvious move if you're looking for a new forward this week. I think Mateta's the easy way to go.
Right. Okay. And Yeah, and this is then finally the new addition that we have, and we've been doing this for this season. Is the goal considered zonal wise? Of course, all the goals go in mostly through the center, but also through the right flanks and left flanks. But yeah, I think this gives us a bit of an idea about who's performing and who's not really performing. So yeah, I'll hand it over to you, Bethany. Um,
Yeah.
Take us through.
Um, So yeah, just looking there, I think the key things looking at those top three. I don't think they are even top four. I don't think any of them surprise us right now. West Ham, Wolves, Burnley, Forest. I think we could have all called that they have been the worst defences this season. I think they're definitely teams that it's worth targeting with your transfers each week. So West Ham this week have Newcastle. So again, bringing in somebody like a Voltemade this week is a great week to do it when they're playing West Ham, who've conceded 20 goals conceded so far. Wolves play Fulham, which is a bit trickier. So I think Fulham will get goals, but it's just hard to call who the goal scorer is going to be from Fulham this week. Burnley is Arsenal. So all those assets we've mentioned this week could definitely do well. Your Saka, Rice, Trossard, Gabriel, Timber. It's so tricky to call who, but I think there'll be plenty of goals in that game. So hopefully everybody gets a turn and a return. I think Forest, the interesting thing just to note here is obviously that they have got Sean Dyche in now. So I would expect to see them tighten up more and go for more of a defensive back line. So this data might change in the coming weeks. For those playing Forest, it might not be as easy a game as it has been so far.
Yeah, I think one of the points that I really want to draw the attention when we talk about Nottingham Forest, if you look at the right flank at home for Nottingham Forest, you'd see that they have conceded the most amount of goals actually down that side, and I think that looks pretty leaky. And I think that's the only one that really kind of draws anybody's attention. But also there is Burnley at home on the left hand flank, home and away both. I think if you look at it. I think those are the two areas. So home and away, both Burnley has been doing pretty bad. So anyone playing Burnley and playing down the right wing or the left wing, I think that's a pretty interesting player that you should probably pick in order to just target Burnley if you want. And most likely that's where they will concede and score more goals. Right, let's look at the other part. Over to you.
Yeah, again, these the best three defences of the season, I don't think particularly comes as a surprise. I think Arsenal, everyone should be going for the double up in Arsenal defence, whether that's Gabriel and Timber or one of those and Raya. There's pros and cons for both. Obviously, Timber and Gabriel, if you go there, you've got the attacking return too, whereas Raya only has it doesn't particularly get save points or anything. He's not going to get attacking returns. But a goalkeeper, you've got to remember, you've got to play a goalkeeper every week. So maybe just having that 6 tick over is quite nice when the best defence in the league by a long way. They've only conceded 3 goals. Compare that to West Ham and 20 in the same period is crazy difference. So yeah, sometimes having just a rare tick over is quite nice. Man City, I do think having Donnarumma come in has helped Man City. And I think they'll continue to be a better defence. It's just who to go for in defence. So maybe if you are going for Gabriel and Timber, maybe you could go for Donnarumma as a goalkeeper if you've got that money spare. Now that we're not going for trying to fit Salah in as well. Sunderland, I really like. I think they offer great value, really cheap prices, but they've kept so many clean sheets, and they've got attacking returns in them too, the defenders. So I think that would be where I'd be finding my defenders at the moment, those 3. I also like Newcastle, like Burn. He can get DEFCON, he can get a bullet header. They've been very consistent. Newcastle are keeping those clean sheets. I think the only one that is a bit of a surprise is Spurs. They started the season pretty well, but more recently they've not been as consistent. So I think if you've got a Spurs defender, it's okay to keep them, but I wouldn't be targeting necessarily targeting them. I think they're a team that also seems to be a bit dodgy if they've played midweek, if they've had European fixtures, etc. They haven't got a huge squad depth. So I think that does affect them if they're playing twice.
Right. I think that's it. I don't think so. We have anything more to talk. Yeah, sorry for the internet again. Yeah, I think that's it, and we've nearly completed the whole discussion here. Um, but yeah, good luck, Bethany, and thanks for joining. And I'll hope to see you again next week. Yeah, because
Yep.
that's what it looks like that we are going to do it next week. So, audience, if you're looking for Bethany again, she'll be back in Game Week 11, and then she'll be back again after the international break. So yeah, you're going to get plenty of her. Don't worry. But yeah, until then, see you. Take care. Bye.